picks that get moved around or something, I might consider doing another one of these, but we're doing our first mock draft for the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, just as a disclaimer here at the top, I'm not a big college football guy. I'm not a big, draft watcher guy. That's not really my thing. I prefer professional sports to college sports, so outside the first handful of picks, I'm not really going to have too much input. The big names, I know about them. But beyond that, I'm not going to know too much. And what I'm doing with this is I looked at a handful, 4 or 5 different mock drafts. And then I kind of put my own opinion on top of that. And that's how I came up with this draft order here that I'm gonna put out. So, yeah, this is that's how I've come to this conclusion. If there's anything that's funky or weird, you're I don't know about that. It's purely a result, like I said, of me not really being a college football guy, but the point of this is relaxation anyway, so here is the spreadsheet I made up. I tried to use the correct team colors for everybody there, and I'm not gonna do any trades. I'm not gonna fantasy football any trades here. Assume that something's gonna get moved. I am going, assuming that everybody is going to draft with their own pick. Is that always true? No, of course not. Some of these picks will get traded, and then depending on who gets traded to, somebody else might get drafted there, but until that trade happens, I have no way of predicting it. So first overall pick, we get the Chicago Bears, and all the signs at this point are pointing to Justin Fields leaving town and them bringing in a rookie quarterback. So at the first overall pick, I think that the Chicago Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb Williams, I have some concerns about this guy. The same kind of concerns I said about Bryce Young in last year's mock draft. I think this dude has a better ceiling than Bryce Young for sure. But he's, he didn't throw at the combine, he didn't test at the combine. And a lot of people are saying, his season in college was, super good. Let's just look at his stats. He's 6'1", 214 pounds. He has 3,633 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He was a quarterback at USC. But I was watching. There's this guy who's really breaks down film really well. I learn a lot watching him. And some of the stuff he was pointing out, I was kind of like, man, I don't know about that. That's a little bit concerning, right? Some of the stuff Caleb was doing, I was just sitting there watching it, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to translate to the NFL. I'm not saying it can't, I'm not saying it won't. But I said the same thing about Bryce Young. Often the first quarterback picked, especially when they're first overall, never ends up being the best quarterback in their draft class. But they're competing against so many guys, right? It's okay to bet the field occasionally, but I don't know. Caleb Williams, I think you have to take him at first. I I don't know if he's the guy that some people think that he is. Now number 2 at the second overall going to Washington. We know Washington is getting a quarterback. There's been a lot of rumors about them wanting to move up to number 1 overall to try and get Williams. I'm not even, if that happens, it happens. Now a lot of people think that they're going to take Jaden Daniels here. A lot of people are locked in on Daniels at the second overall pick, being the second quarterback off the board. Here's the thing, I'm going to go, this isn't obviously massively off the board, but I think Drake May goes second overall here to Washington. Probably much to the chagrin of New England, even though Bill Belichick isn't there anymore. But you have a guy who has a really strong arm. He's a big guy. How tall is Drake May? Drake May is 6'4.5", 223 pounds. He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert. When I was watching some Drake May highlights, I was like, oh, this dude. It's like watching Justin Herbert, so it's actually really exciting to watch this guy because I'm a big Herbert fan. You have a guy who's kind of, he's a pocket passer a little bit, he's a field general a little bit, strong arm QB. Seems like he has, I think he'll be good coming right out the gate, especially based on his size. Which then, third overall, I think then that leaves us to our next QB, the one a lot of people have mocked at 2. I'm putting him at 3 personally. Jaden Daniels to the New England Patriots. He's also a quarterback, so we have 3 quarterbacks in a row coming off the board. Jaden Daniels, he's 6'4", 210 from LSU. Last season he had 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I should say Drake May had 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Over 3,800 passing yards. Drake made over 3,600. And, his comp is kind of a Lamar Jackson type. I don't know. Obviously that's you're comparing him literally to an MVP. I don't think he'll be like that, but he's a dual threat quarterback. He has the potential, I think, to be. I think any of these top 3 quarterbacks have the potential to be the best quarterback in their class. I'd say Daniels, May, Williams all could be the best here. Also, I don't think that he tested the combine either, much like Williams, and is he trying to raise or lower his value there? You're not 200% sure, but I think he'd be a good fit there. With the New England Patriots, who just traded Mac Jones to Jacksonville, so they need a QB. Now we come to a guy coming here 4th overall who is probably the best player in this entire draft. But because the way the NFL works, he isn't coming off the board until 4th overall, although honestly, I don't know if I'm Washington just keeping Sam Howell and giving him this guy to work with kind of tempt me. Maybe not, but we have Marvin Harrison Jr., but the Jr. isn't going to fit there, so I'm just going to put Marvin Harrison. Wide receiver from Ohio State. Like I said, I think this guy is probably the best prospect in this draft. 67 receptions for 1,211 yards, 14 touchdowns, averaging 18.1 yards per reception. He's 6'3.5", 209 pounds. And, it seems like Arizona is all in on Kyler Murray. They're not giving up on him, even after his injury issues. And I think bringing in a guy like Harrison could elevate that team. How much, I don't know. I still think they're probably the worst team in the NFC West, even with Marvin Harrison. But I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. He has elite athleticism. He has really good length. He has great ball skills. I think he can quickly become one of the best receivers in the entire league. Okay, now we're gonna come here to 5th overall, the Chargers. Now I know, so I saw a lot of people putting Joe Alt here. He's 6'8.5", 321. I almost put him here, but then I was doing some more research and I found this other guy here at 5 for the Chargers that I think might be a better fit for that team, better for protecting. Justin Herbert, and that is Amarius Mims. He's an offensive tackle out of Georgia. He's 6'8", 340 pounds. But he's a dude that big. And he has giant hands. He's super athletic. He has a 5.07 40-yard dash, which is crazy fast for his size. 9'3" broad jump. And I think he has so much upside, whereas I think Joe Alt, Talise Fuaga, some of the other guys, the other offensive tackles in this draft, they're kind of like, you know who you're getting there. I think this guy's a lot of upside. And the Chargers, they just got rid of some veterans on their squad. So I think maybe you need a guy like this to come in, so I'm picking him over some of the other offensive tackle options. Now we come to the New York Football Giants. And I think they need a wide receiver. There's two guys I'm considering here as between Malik Neighbors from LSU and Rome Odunze from Washington. And just looking at the two, Malik is smaller. And I think nowadays, especially in the NFL, you want a taller wide receiver. There are obviously still good wide receivers that are a bit shorter. But I mean, looking at that Washington offense, I think for this New York team, I think here at 6 they go with Rome Odunze. From Washington, he's a Husky, 92 receptions for 1,640 yards, 13 touchdowns, 17.8 yards per reception. Now we come to 7th overall, the Tennessee Titans. And I think here is where our next offensive tackle comes off the board. And here I'm going to go Joe Alt from Notre Dame. My Alt key wasn't working. There we go. There, I'm going to go Joe Alt there instead of him going at 5th like some people project. I think he'll go here at 7th. Like I already said, 6 foot 8.5 inches, 321 pounds. He is a massive human being. Some people thought that Tennessee might go wide receiver here, but I don't know. For me, I think protecting their quarterback is going to be very important here, especially because they have a young, good quarterback. Protect him. Offensive linemen are a luxury in this league. There's not a lot of good ones out there. So, yeah. 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. We are going to go with Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner, edge rusher from Alabama, 6'3", 247 pounds, 53 tackles, 10 sacks. I don't have too much more to say than that. I was just looking, it seemed like Atlanta needed to work on their defense, and he seems like one of the best, or the best, defensive players. On the board now, we come to Chicago's next pick. Also, Turner was the best edge rusher for 40-yard dash, vertical, 3rd place broad jump. And I think he's obviously just a super, super skilled athlete. Chicago, they just got Williams. Hold on, I'm gonna clear my throat. They just get Williams. I think they need to pair with him a offensive weapon. You know, maybe you think maybe they need to go defense here. I considered they'd go defense, but I think kind of like what a couple teams have done over the years, you bring in a wide receiver to pair with your rookie QB day one and let them start building that chemistry together. So I think they go Malik Neighbors here at 9th overall. He could go up here at 6th. I think he could go up here earlier, but I think he could come here to them. Wide receiver from LSU. Only 6 feet, but he's 200 pounds, 89 receptions for 1,569 yards, 14 touchdowns, average 17.6 yards per reception. So I'm not mad about that. Now we come to the New York Jets. After what happened to them last season with Aaron Rodgers, I think they're all in on offensive line this season. That needs to be their main focus. And I think they're going with the best offensive lineman left. Amarius Mims is off the board. Joe Alt's off the board. So I think they're going to take Talise Fuaka, Talise, I'm not 100% sure, but Fuaka, offensive tackle from Oregon State, 6'6", 325 pounds, just a beast, absolute beast. And now we come to, I want to go with the consensus here. A lot of people have this pick here. I'm pretty confident Kirk Cousins is going to come back to the Vikings, so this guy is going to sit behind him for a season or two. J.J. McCarthy going 11th overall to Minnesota. Quarterback from Michigan, he's 6 foot 2.5 pounds, 6 foot 2.5 inches, turned 19 pounds, 2,991 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't think he could be in the conversation for best QB in this draft class. I think it's possible. He's a super quick release. He's a very aggressive passer. Like, he's not afraid to throw into tricky spots, which some offensive coordinators like that. Some offensive coordinators hate that. But I think, having Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, assuming those guys don't get traded, and assuming he's not sitting on the bench behind Kirk Cousins, I think he could be a threat. I think he could work well there in Minnesota, and just from what I've seen about his personality, he kind of fits that Minnesota mentality a little bit, if that makes sense. Okay, Denver here, 12th overall, who just got rid of Russell Westbrook, Russell Wilson the other day. Letting him go, huge amount of dead cap. He's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think here they're going to go cornerback. I think they go for the best corner on the board in Terrion Arnold. Cornerback from Alabama, 6 foot, 189 pounds, 63 tackles, 1 sack, 5 interceptions. And then just below him, going to Las Vegas, we have another cornerback who might end up being better than Arnold, but this guy has kind of separated himself in the combine pre-draft process, whereas his season wasn't as great. Whereas I think Arnold had the better game day, but this guy has been like a combine hero. And here, 13th, going to the Las Vegas Raiders at cornerback, we have Quinion Mitchell. Mitchell, 6 foot, 195 pounds, 41 tackles, 1 interception, so, worse stats than Arnold. But he has a 4.33 second 40-yard dash, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot 2 broad jump, 20 reps on the bench. So he's really strong. I can see him being just super dangerous. Super dangerous. We've gotten off here. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Okay. 14th overall, the New Orleans Saints. I'm gonna have them take from Florida State. Jared Verse, he's an edge rusher. 6 foot 4 inches, 254 pounds, 41 tackles, 9 sacks. Just an absolute beast. He's just gonna be a monster in the trenches. He had the 40-yard dash in 4.58 seconds, 35-inch vertical, 31 reps on the bench, which is the best for any edge rusher. Huge, super strong, extremely athletic, explosive, especially at his size, 6 foot 4, 254 pounds. Like, being that explosive is, it shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed, but it is. Okay. Now, this guy, I was really hoping this guy would fall to us at what do I want to say? At 16 in Seattle. I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, but I think that this guy is going to end up going 15th overall to Indianapolis. This is a guy that I thought that I was considering, does Indianapolis go with an offensive player to kind of, with Anthony Richardson, do they try to defend him a little bit? But I think they're going to go with Latu, edge rusher from UCLA, 6 foot 5, 259 pounds, 49 tackles, 13 sacks, 2 interceptions. Dude's an absolute beast. Super high motor, 4.64 second 40-yard dash, very athletic. I think just bulking up the Indianapolis defense a little bit, having a guy coming off the edge, and like I said, I was hoping he'd fall to Seattle at 16, but I don't think he does. But I'll tell you who I think Seattle does pick up here is Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia. 6 foot 3, 243 pounds, 56 receptions or 714 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaging 12.8 yards per reception. Because Seattle, we just, did we release him or did we trade him? Hold on. I have to double check if it was a release or a trade. Just one moment. Yeah, Will Disley. Will Disley was released. Tight end, so I think bring in Brock Bowers. He's a guy that you could look to fill his shoes a little bit. He's a playmaker as well. Like, he's not just a body. Like, he can make plays. Kind of reminds me of, like, obviously not as good, but like, you make comparisons to players people know, but kind of reminds me of George Kittle a little bit. He can convert, third down downs, fourth down situations, yards after catch. He's good on screens and sweeps, which Seattle likes to run. Well, no, now we have a new head coach, who knows, but I think he'd be a very versatile player that we have in our offense rather. Alright, now we come to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, I think they go here with Jer'Zhan Newton. I think that's how you say his name. He's an interior defensive lineman from Illinois, 6'2", 304 pounds. And I think if you pair him with their pass rusher, Josh Allen, Newton here, he's another great pass rusher, and they could really exploit that against other teams. Especially because now you're looking at a league that is so pass heavy, right? So I think that just kind of makes sense for them, and they can really go all in on that aspect. Now we come to Cincinnati. When I think of Cincinnati, similar to the New York Jets, what do I think of? I think of protecting the quarterback. Joe Burrow gets sacked way too much. He's been dealing with injuries far too often in his career here. So we're going to go J.C. Latham, the next best offensive tackle on this board. He's 6'6", 342 pounds, from Alabama. And then here at 19th overall to the Rams again. Same thing, offensive tackles coming off the board again. Now we're going to go with Troy Fautanu from Washington. They got some offensive linemen last draft. Fautanu is 6'4", 317. This guy is super athletic. He has really quick feet for his size. And I think he can be a day one starter. Day one. Pittsburgh, I wasn't too sure about this looking at Pittsburgh because they just got Russell Wilson, but I was kind of looking, I'm like, I think they need some more secondary help. So I decided to go with that here instead. So I gave them who I think is the next best cornerback on the board left, and that's Nate Wiggins from Clemson. 6'1.5 inches, 173 pounds, 29 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Now we come 21st to Miami. I think Miami is probably also going to go here with a D lineman, and I'm going to go with Byron Murphy, the second that fits there. We know they have a great offense. Offense was not their issue last season. But this guy, they're losing Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, and Deshaun Hand to free agency. So you have this guy here. He's a playmaker, super quick on the line. He's 6'1", 297, so maybe a little bit small for the position, but he's more of a speed guy, it seems like. It just kind of seems like, in my opinion, their offense is great. They need to go. Defense. We come to the Eagles. I'm going to give them, at this point, these are the guys I'm way less familiar with. I'm just going to be straight up Cooper DeJean, defensive back from Iowa, 6'1", 203 pounds. It says, this is the write-up I saw that convinced me to get him. The Eagles finished second to last in both passing yards and passing touchdowns allowed last year. The secondary desperately needs more playmakers, and DeJean's a great start. Says he has good instincts, he's very aggressive in coverage, one of the best athletes in his position in the draft. An excellent size for his position, he can play outside corner as well as over the slot and at safety. So in my opinion, that's the exact kind of guy Philadelphia needs, especially because they were giving up so many late game drives last year. Houston Texans. Houston Texans. And we're going to give them Chop Robinson. I was considering maybe giving them some more offensive weapons, maybe looking at a receiver or something here. But I kind of thought, like, they need defense. Their offense, I think it reminded me of Miami a bit. I'm fine with them on offense. I think they need defense. So this guy, Chop Robinson, he's from Penn State, edge rusher, 6'3", 254 pounds, 15 tackles, 4 sacks. Just a big dude, super athletic, really good explosive first step, like he can get past his guy on the first step. So yeah, I think that'd be good there for Houston, and then going to Dallas, we're gonna give them another edge rusher. I see these two dudes, like swapping positions here between 23 and 24. I see some people with Darius going 23rd and Chop going 24th, but this is the order. And in my opinion, Chop looks a little bit better, but Darius Robinson, 6'5", 285 pounds, edge rusher from Missouri. Texans already have Will Anderson Jr., and I think they can bring in Robinson here. He's another huge dude. Big, he has really long arms, and if you pair him with Anderson Jr., I think they're really gonna cause some issues for some teams. Then 25th overall, Green Bay. I think they need a center to go with Jordan Love. Get him a good center he can work with, a guy that he can build that chemistry with. We have what's going on with my font here? I don't know why my font looks weird. Jackson, Powers, Robinson, but I'm just gonna put Jackson Powers, and I don't know why that font looks so weird all of a sudden. But I think he's the best center in the draft. Josh Myers, their current center, he's gonna be leaving. So I think you probably are going to need to get a new franchise center there. I think this guy could be the guy. Now I am an Oregon fan, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but this guy's huge. 328 pounds, only 6'3". I am 6'3". I cannot imagine weighing 328 pounds. I weigh 215, and some days I feel too heavy. Yes, I think this guy would be a great spot for them there. I think he's exactly what the Green Bay Packers need. Now Tampa Bay, I think they're going to take Graham Barton from Duke. Mike Evans decided to stay with the team. So I think instead of looking at a wide receiver here, they go with an offensive tackle. Big dude, 6'5", 315 pounds. Super strong. I think he could play guard or center, but either way, I think he could be a day one starter for Tampa. Now we have Arizona's second pick in the draft. They got Marvin Harrison at 4th, who, like I said, I think he could be the best, end up being the best player in this draft. But I don't know if if I'm them, I don't know if I looked at another offensive weapon. So I'm going to go for them. I'm going to give them a defensive back. Who am I going to give them here? Yeah. Oops. Kamari Lassiter, defensive back from Georgia. Definitely a speed guy, only 6 foot, 186. But this guy, he seems like a good playmaker, good instinct, good coverage player. And I think he could be a great player for them. He had 37 tackles, half a sack, 8 pass defenses. He can play corner, he can play multiple different guard spots in the secondary. I think this is a good pickup for Arizona. Now Buffalo. Now I'm finally going to go with the wide receiver here. I think Buffalo definitely needs it. Maybe they need another offensive weapon to put them over the hump. But we're going to give them Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from LSU. 6'3", 209 pounds. He has 68 receptions for 1,177 yards, 17 touchdowns, averaging 17.3 yards per reception. Stephon Diggs is getting old. Gabe Davis is probably going to be leaving. And this guy has really good yards after catch potential. He's really big, obviously 6'4", but even at that size, he's only 205. He's super quick. I think he'll fit nicely into their offense. Now Detroit. We're gonna go with Ennis Rackstraw Jr. He's a cornerback from Missouri, 5'11.5", 183 pounds, 35 tackles, no sacks. But I think just a good secondary player there for Detroit to add. I'm not mad about that for them. Baltimore. What does Baltimore need to add? I think that they probably need to add somebody into their trenches. Ronnie Stanley is getting old. Morgan Moses is already old. So I think you need to bring in for them Kingsley Suamatea. I know that doesn't fit there all the way. But he's a tackle from BYU, 6'5", 326 pounds. Really tall dude. Athletic, explosive. He can play on offense or defense. And he's only 21. He's one of the younger players in this draft, so I'll take him there. Now at 31st overall, San Francisco 49ers. I think they're also going offensive tackle here, offensive line, because one of Brock Purdy's biggest issues was last season is he would get pressured and he would make some mistakes, and you need a guy that can slow things down for him, take the pressure off. So we're gonna give them Jordan Morgan there, 31st offensive tackle from Arizona, 6'5", 311 pounds. And finally, what does Kansas City need? They need a receiver. They desperately need a receiver. They have basically no depth at that position. It was their biggest weakness this season. And I think they'll take Adonai Mitchell. Which, can we just talk about the balls of naming your child Adonai? Literally Hebrew for Lord is what they call God. That's very ballsy. 6'2", 205 pounds from Texas. And he's another Columbine hero. He's a dude, kind of like Quinyon Mitchell. 4.34 second 40-yard dash, 39.5-inch vertical, 11.4-inch broad jump. I think he's a guy who could end up being potentially the second best wide receiver in this draft if he develops, especially in that system with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and all that. So that right there, that is my current prediction for the first round of the NFL draft. Again, not a college football guy, but let me know how you think I did on this one, if you agree or disagree with my picks, how you think, what you think your team is going to do in this draft. I'd love to hear anal feedback in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. Until next time, guys.